Hi, I'm Morgan.
I'm Jim, and this is our pup Milo.
Back in 2018, we bought an RV to live in full-time. Little did we know that there were major renovations ahead.
So join us as we seize the adventure of a lifetime while dreaming big and living small.
Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about our RV roof renovation and everything that went into it from demolition to now. We'll be inserting photos and videos to bring you along the way, and we'll also be linking materials that we use that you can't get at your local hardware store in the description box.
Back in 2018, when we first bought the RV, we knew that there were going to be a few minor renovations. We were kind of hoping it would go rather quick and we could just get on the road. But we didn't realize how much work was actually going to need to go into it.
Too much.
Turns out we had a massive leak in the roof that we didn't know we had until later on after we bought it during a huge rainstorm. And once water came pouring in through one of the vents, we started to rip down some of the existing ceiling to find a ton of water damage. And not only was there mold and water damage, but the particle board that the previous owners used to fix the roof was completely rotted. So right then and there, we kind of knew that we were going to have to rebuild the entire roof.
And at that point, we knew that we couldn't just get rid of the RV. We already put so much money into it, and we also just loved her when we found her.
And we knew it would be worth it.
So worth it.
Shortly after we found the leak in the roof, we threw a temporary tarp up to prevent any more water from finding its way inside.
If you look closely, you can see where the water would pour through the vent and where the roof would sag.
One of the biggest issues we had was the mold and wood rot around the old air conditioning unit. Right here you can see that the only thing holding the roof together was the old membrane. Essentially, the old wood had almost completely rotted away.
So at this point, we knew that we had to devise a plan. We knew that there was no way that we would be able to fix this roof without somehow building a structure around the RV in order to climb on top of it, bring all the materials up, and rebuild everything.
Because there was no way we were going to be able to do everything with just a couple of ladders. So we went to the drawing board.
And this is what we came up with. After a ton of lumber, hard work, and help from the family, we were able to build our scaffolding.
In an effort to keep the RV dry and with winter ahead, we created a plastic barrier to cover the entire structure.
Next was demolition. So at this point, for the next step of our renovation, we had to start creating the structure of the roof. We knew that we couldn't just throw particle board back up on the roof, and we also knew that we had to think about something that wasn't going to be too heavy, that it would just collapse in the RV while we were rolling down the road.
Taking that into consideration, we knew that we couldn't just use regular building materials like you would to frame out a house. Instead, we used pieces of 1x3 pine to frame out the trusses.
With the 1x3, we created a truss. The first thing we had to do was find the center point on the truss. From the center point, we had to create a slope or create a pitch to each end. Once that was done, we notched out the ends so that way it could comfortably sit on the top plates of the existing frame in the RV.
Or the outer walls.
Left over from the old roof. Essentially what they're going to do is they're going to fit on, could reach. They're going to fit on kind of like that. This doesn't fit right yet because I have to take this bracket off. But essentially after they're on, we're going to cut an angle all the way across so that when the plywood goes up and the new roof is completely up, the rainwater, when it does rain, will fall off to the sides.
This was the final result after gluing and screwing all of the trusses into place, with keeping in mind to double up the trusses where the seams of the plywood meet.
Then it was time to start gluing down and placing our half-inch sheets of plywood on top of the trusses.
As you can see in these photos, we did pre-cut the holes for the vents that we were going to install in the roof. However, we did not pre-cut the hole for the air conditioner because we weren't exactly sure of the dimensions yet, so you could always do this after the fact. Just make sure there's enough space between the trusses in order to do this. Once we finished placing all of the plywood, we sealed up the cracks with liquid asphalt as well as roofing caulk. Next was to prep the roof for the last bit of waterproofing as well as the membrane.
Finally, our roof was rebuilt. Next, we had to buy this rubber membrane kit off of Amazon.
We took the waterproof adhesive from the kit and rolled it out with paint rollers onto the roof. Then we laid out our membrane and used a squeegee in order to get any air bubbles out of it.
Once the membrane was laid out, we attached termination bars with gutters to the sides to lock everything down and cut off the excess membrane.
Once the termination bars were set into place, we used a Dicor sealant for RV roofs in order to seal all of the edges as well as the screws. The sealant does come with the kit, but we do recommend getting extra just in case you use too much, and you're also going to need it for the vents.
After doing our research, we decided to go with a Dometic air conditioner unit. Thanks to the help of some family, once we figured out where we wanted it, we were able to get it dropped in, hooked up, and ready to go.
We installed our vents, hooked them up to power, and then we were ready for installation and our tongue and groove ceiling.
For the ceiling, we glued and brad nailed tongue and groove cedar planks to the bottom of the trusses. And this is how it turned out. We chose not to polyurethane the ceiling, but we will be doing that in the shower.
And finally, we were done with our RV roof renovation. Although this was a huge step to finishing our home, and with many projects to still lie ahead, we're so glad to welcome you to our Outward Bound family.